Team, good morning. Welcome to AUSA's Coffee Series, featuring the 35th Chief of Army Reserve and the Commanding General for the U.S. Army Reserve Command, General Robert Harter. As you can see, we have a tremendous turnout here today. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. I'm Alex Brody. I'm the Director of Meetings, and it is great to welcome you back to the AUSA headquarters. First, I want to thank our four-star sponsors, General Dynamics and Leonardo DRS, as well as our two-star sponsor, Leidos, for their support of this coffee series. We can't thank you enough for your continued support of AUSA over the years. Please give our sponsors a big round of applause. Yeah, simply put, we can't do these great events without our industry partners. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a sponsor, please connect with Emily Call. She is our sponsorship manager. She's out in the registration area, and she'll be happy to talk with you about being a sponsor at events like this or any of the other great events that we have coming up in 2026. We appreciate the presence of general officers and command sergeants major joining us this morning as well. It's always great to have you here. I'd also like to acknowledge the congressional staff who are here with us on this special day. Your efforts on behalf of the Army, soldiers, and families are greatly appreciated. Okay, before I introduce our host, General Smith, please direct your attention to the screen for a short video.
When I first joined the military, I couldn't do even one push-up. And every time I felt I couldn't do it, I remembered my mom used to asking me, did you not give up? Did you do your best? So I was born in Seoul, South Korea. And when I was 14, my mom found an opportunity to work in New York City. After graduating high school, I went to the recruiting center, and my recruiter told me there are a lot of jobs. What do you want to do? I played flute. And he gave me a big smile, and he told me there's a job for me, which is Army Reserve Band. We play and present the American flag, and it's such great opportunity for us to connect the community. Math was another field that I was interested. I become a math teacher through a scholarship that was given to military members who have a STEM program. I think leadership is motivating soldiers to achieve their mission. Same thing in teaching. I'm motivating students to achieve their academic goals. That confidence that I gained from the Army Reserve, I didn't want to stop there. I became a master fitness trainer, and I conduct the physical readiness training for everyone to learn. I want to see how far can I go. So I started running like a couple blocks. And we first ran 5K, and then later we started running 10K. And we ran New York City Marathon, Chicago Marathon, Philadelphia Marathon, and we completed the Berlin Marathon. I was the girl who couldn't even do one push-up when I first joined the Army. And then I ran the World Marathon. So much accomplishment, and I couldn't do it without any support. My whole unit is supporting me. It's just so much appreciation I have. I feel joyfully overwhelmed just remembering.
Oof, great video. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for a run, so I'll be right back. General Smith, you're on your own, I'm sorry. All right. With that, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Vice President for Education and Programs at the Association of the United States Army. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to General Les Smith.
So good morning, everyone. Welcome to your coffee series. Lieutenant General Bob Harter, as we talked about, was confirmed in 2024 in August the 1st, and he has two jobs. It's like a man from Jamaica.
My sergeant major's from Jamaica. He's like, all right.
Hey, yeah, that's right, man. Yeah. So you got 2-3 jobs, man. Yeah. We take our job serious, but not ourselves, guys. So while he's doing that, he's in charge of 172,000 citizen soldiers and 11,000 civilians across all 50 states, 5 U.S. territories, in more than 23 countries worldwide. We were joking about Virginia Tech because he's a 1988 graduate of Virginia Tech with a BA in communications, so he knows how to talk. And he earned his commission as a field artillery officer and then transitioned to Ordnance Corps. He holds a Master's of Science in National Security Strategy from the National War College, which is a good school. We create generals there. And then we transferred to reserves. He's had several jobs for being the 16th Expeditionary Sustainment Command, previous general officer jobs being in 81st Readiness Command, Deputy Chief of the Army Reserve. And I think the first time I met you, you were running around the Pentagon, working out, flexing on people. And he's deployed in support of Operations Desert Storm, Iraqi Freedom, and Enduring Freedom. Please join me in welcoming the 35th Chief of Army Reserve and the Commander General of the U.S. Army Reserve Command, Lieutenant General Bob Harter.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you.
So,
combat ready. That's my old D car back there. She's all fired up. She's retired, so she's got a lot of energy.
All right. I'm in charge of this, okay? So don't lose yourselves out there. I'm gonna get you, General. Hey, but seriously, no, you've been in command for about a year now. What do you see across the formation, and what kind of adjustments are you making? But before I ask that, I want to ask a little question about you. Tell us about you, Bob Harter. Where are you from? Why did you decide to join the Army?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question, sir. I will answer that. But first, thanks to you and AUSA for pulling this together. It's awesome. Great teammates. And, appreciate it. Looks like I got most of the OCAR staff here, which is why this room's full. Free breakfast.
Free breakfast,
Our Army Reserve troopers love a little bit of eggs. So, but it's awesome. So, my father was served.
Okay.
So my father grew up in Alaska, the son of a butcher, pretty meager background, right? But one of 5 kids. Ended up going to that university in New York. Went to West Point, 65 grad with General Shinseki, who's one of his classmates, right? And so we still see the Shinsekis over at my folks' house. So yeah, he went in, did 20 years, combat infantryman, 2 Purple Hearts from Vietnam. Very quiet, humble guy, totally opposite most people would say of me. But, inspires you, right? And so I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. He never really pushed it, but he just lived that incredible example. So, I ended up serving. He retired here in Northern Virginia. So I'm a product of West Springfield High School.
Nice.
I mean, we were talking earlier, John George here up front is, retired general officer. We've known each other since grade school. Since junior high. Junior high.
And he has all the.
He might have a few stories.
Okay, all right.
Got some teammates, but anyway, ended up going to college at Virginia Tech, and then went active duty field artillery. Was active duty for 10.5 years. Transitioned while I was active into the Army or into sustainment community. So commanded at Fort Campbell back in the day. General Jack Keane was the commander when I was there, and then transitioned to the AGR program, and here I am.
Nice.
37 years later.
Okay.
I tell you, I think you see, and just, Sergeant Juan, talk about talent in the Army Reserve, right? That video, we have some HUA videos of, rounds down range and all kinds of HUA stuff happening, but she captures the essence of what we have in the Army Reserve soldier. Just phenomenal talent across the spectrum, tremendous work ethic. And you see, and she's doing what she's doing on 39 days a year. Of being an American soldier, and the rest of the time she's got her civilian job, which is paying her mortgage, her rent, her car payment, all that. So we just like to highlight that all the time, the sacrifices and the awesomeness of our Army Reserve troopers. I think right now for me, when I came in, and General Jody Daniels had set the table, for me, focusing on readiness, as had General Lucky in previous cars and CGs. But we came in and we look at how the United States Army Reserve we're like, the bulk of the enabling capacity for the total force. Right. And you and I were talking earlier about the capabilities we bring. I mean, theater signal command, we're the only ones that have it. Theater engineer commands, we're the only ones that have it. The Army Reserve is 99% of your line haul bulk petroleum fuel capacity. The other 1% is in the National Guard, my other reserve component teammates. There's 0 in the Compo 1. So my message to my team, and really my team gets it, right? It's my message to my Compo One teammates: you go, we go, and we got to be ready. We are not complimentary; we're needed right away, and we have 39 days a year to build that readiness, where we might have young men and women out the door. And you look at the threat. So that's right now. That's what we're driving on. Our purpose in the United States Army Reserve is deliver combat-ready soldiers and formations at time of need.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to channel all our energies, sir, into driving on that readiness 39 days a year.
Okay. So, there's an increasing emphasis on joint and multi-component operations and large-scale combat operations. What steps is the Army Reserve taking to integrate its operations into those missions?
I think across the board right now. So we're integrated in all the major exercises. We go to all the CTCs. Right now, what we're looking to do in the Army Reserve is partner much more with both Compo 1 and Compo 2. So we just did a major exercise out in California last year called Mojave Falcon, had almost 11,000 Army Reserve soldiers there. We were supporting out of Fort Hunter Liggett, California, which is 300 miles north of the NTC. We were supporting soldiers in the box at NTC and doing exercise there. Talk about the awesomeness of the Army Reserve. And when I got this CCIR, I didn't know if I was supposed to be pissed off or fired up, because we had a medical formation, a combat support hospital down at NTC.
Right.
And we were supporting during this exercise. And they were role playing. And part of the role playing is, you bring in casualties on helicopters. And there are triage casualties, and Black Horse, the OPFOR, is playing some of the casualties. So the casualties coming in, and you've got a triage, and our docs and our nurses have to say, okay, this is priority over this casualty. But the role players are, you got a young Sergeant Smith who's saying, no, my buddy's more injured. Fix my buddy first. And so they're supposed to create that stress for a formation. Right. Well, it got a little heated. And we ended actually having some fisticuffs between some Black Horse troopers role playing and some docs.
Okay.
Thank God it didn't go too long. I'm not sure how the docs would have done.
So the docs brought out the fist.
They were ready to go.
Docs, it wasn't medics.
Yeah, it could have been some medics too, but they were all out there. So, but very realistic.
Yeah.
I got the CCIR. I'm like, I think this is kind of awesome. Reported it up to General Pappas, but it was. But anyway, so we're doing these integrated exercises, and we're doing one this year called Operation Sentinel Justice, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be in June. We're going to be supporting a Guard BCT in the box, the 116th Infantry Brigade. We'll be supporting, and they'll be at Fort Polk. We'll have some soldiers at Fort Polk, but we're supporting from Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and partnered up with my teammates in the Mississippi Guard there. And we're going to be using real-world distances and driving fuel and delivering ammunition. We will have a Sustainment Brigade Army Reserve there that is now aligned underneath the active component 13th Corps Support Command.
Nice.
In real world and now in this exercise, right, to build that multi-component integration. And so the 13th CSC from Fort Hood will have soldiers on the ground there at Camp Shelby. So it's just train as you fight. Train as you fight, because balloon goes up. I tell my team all the time, September 10th, 2001 was just another day. And almost all of us were there for September 11th. And it's just, who knows how much time we'll have, contested homeland. We better be ready to go. So let's put our energy into it.
That's good. Thank you, sir. So with all those changes in the operational side, what type of challenges are you facing from an infrastructure standpoint?
So I think, boy, and this is the chief and the secretary have been all over this, transformation and contact, right? Just do things different. We've been doing the same thing in the Army Reserve probably for the last 60 years. Mm-hmm. And, we've had challenges with end strength. How do we man our formations? How do we posture ourselves for LSCO, large scale combat operations? So there's probably some awesome minds in this room that could help us out with this. But do I need to have an Army Reserve unit in every community? We have, for those in the recruiting enterprise, USAREC, United States Army Recruiting Command, recruits for the Army Reserve. They recruit for Compo 1 and Compo 3. And I was talking to the DCG at USAREC a couple weeks ago, an Army Reserve 1-star, Will Mofalita. and we're trying to figure out how do we get our reserve units in the right place. We have 4 reserve centers, for example, I think in North Dakota. And as he's walking me through this, he goes, it takes, I could get the numbers wrong, but it's like 1,500, might be more, 1,500 qualified humans to get 1 recruit.
Wow.
In
North Dakota, just a period.
Just in period,
Okay,
general.
all right, okay.
So anytime USRX recruiting, that it takes about 1,500 within a recruitable population, meets all the standards just to get 1 recruit. And we had 250 vacancies up there, nowhere near the recruitable population in North Dakota. And so nothing against North Dakota or the Rust Belt or whatever, but why do I have 4 reserve centers up there? I mean, I'm never going to solve that problem. And so meanwhile, I have units in Florida and Texas that are like 125% strength. And so what I've asked my team to look at is there a different way to do business? Should we invest more obviously in places where the demographic we can recruit to? Can we invest more in hub and spoke, we're calling it, where I can invest into Camp Shelby with the Guard, which we're investing in, Fort Knox, Fort Bragg. We're investing in our Fort McCoy up in Wisconsin, where kids can, and we'll fund them to travel, train. They can draw weapons, drive their vehicles, and then I lease space where kids might live.
Okay.
And just because we got to have a different dynamic in order to deliver the readiness that the Army needs. Yeah. And I think one of my greatest challenges here, so we're talking, and again, not to be disparaging of my Compo 1 teammates, they're awesome, but they truly do not understand how we operate. And so it's constant educate and inform in the building. And hey, this is how we deliver. I cannot PCS a soldier, right? Kids live where their jobs are because they got to eat. Mm-hmm. And so I've got to be able to have those young men and women live where the jobs are, but get them to where they can train and be combat ready soldiers.
Okay. So pulling that thread a little bit. So how can AUSA, or how can we in the room tell the Army Reserve story? Because it's just like you said, Sergeant Warren, it's a great story. How can we help you with that?
I think, and AUSA sure does a great job. I think, get out, see us train. I had someone talk to me, hey, it was Wayne here. How can we better? What can industry do for you? Come out and watch us train. Come out and partner with us at these exercises. We're going to do an exercise as part of Mojave Falcon at Camp Grayling up in Michigan. And we test some new kit. Right? Cold weather. Yeah. And so it's great to get industry to come out and train with us, see how we operate. We're going to invite the chief, General Nordhaus, the chief of the National Guard Bureau, out to this exercise, Operation Sentinel Justice. But it's just, hey, get immersed, see how we train, how we operate. We are not Compo 1. We are your Title 10 Reserve Force. Mm-hmm. 170, like you said, sir, 170,000 folks. I've got 16,000 full-time soldiers for 170,000. So we got to manage that population, where we put folks, another awesome 11,000 civilians, but it's understanding how we operate and how we're different. We owe you, we the Army Reserve, we're working on our brand.
Okay.
I mean, you say the few, the proud, everyone in this room could finish that sentence, but it's the Army Reserve. We got to do a better job of articulating who we are.
Okay. So, when it comes to transformation and modernization, there's a sense of urgency. It's making national headlines. And let's talk a little bit more about the 76 and some of the things that specifically that the Army Reserve is doing when it comes to transformation.
Sure. No, we're so transformation, I think, for us, and it's not just new kit, although that's important for us. I think, the Secretary and the Chief Sergeant Major of the Army just signed the memo on kind of sense of urgency, the cost of inaction. So we are partnered up with that, moving out. I think, I've told my team, there's no idea right now that's too crazy. There's no idea.
No idea.
No idea that's too crazy. Our bureaucracy, sometimes I get so frustrated. If we can impose our bureaucracy on our enemies, we wouldn't have to fire another shot. I'm convinced. If ISIS had to put a tasker in ETMS-2, and so it's just.
Are you a comedian on the side?
No, I'm not. It's just, but it is just that, it's the frustrating part of what we do.
Yeah.
So we're trying to tear that down. One of the things, like a couple things we're looking at in the Army Reserve, is how we do mission command.
Right.
As part of our transformation. We've got functional commands, so i.e. all our sustainment units are in a sustainment underneath the sustainment general officer headquarters, MPs underneath, but they've become so dispersed that it becomes very difficult to execute mission command. I've got an MP brigade that literally, it's an 06 TPU colonel, so part-time colonel with a full-time job doing something else, who has his brigade is dispersed like over 24 states.
Wow.
It's just insane. But he's out of Inkster, Michigan. He's got a battalion in Utah. How do you manage that as a brigade commander? So we're looking at going back to kind of a geographic mission command. We have the way the Army Reserve is structured. We have 4 readiness divisions, which think of those as garrison commands on steroids. They cover the continental United States and Puerto Rico, and they own all the facilities in their respective area. For example, I commanded the 81st, so they own the Southeast and Puerto Rico. They own all the facilities. They all own all the kind of what we'd call our depot maintenance, but they don't have mission command of like that MP unit. If there's an MP battalion there, that belongs to the MP command. So we're looking, hey, how can we redo this? Geographic mission command. We used to have that to drive on readiness. Equipment. We had some folks talk to us about maintaining our equipment. About 80% of the equipment in the Army Reserve is stored at what we call equipment concentration sites. We have, I think it's 28 to 30 throughout the continental United States and Puerto Rico. We're really only funded, and I'm not whining, but just stating fact, we're only funded to maintain about 30% of that equipment. And so we're basically, our mechanics are driving on, and they're mil-techs, military technicians, our mechanics. So they're a soldier when they go to battle assembly, and sometimes not in a unit that's doing maintenance, but as a civilian, they're turning wrenches on vehicles at these sites. They're only maintaining equipment that's maybe going on a gift map deployment or getting ready to go to a CTC rotation. We actually pulled some data on, we've got equipment that's aligned to war plans that hasn't been touched in like 18 months.
Wow.
Right. And so what we're looking at is, hey, how can I posture some of this equipment forward? So we're doing forward position of our own equipment, similar to an AMC APS model, but right now we're maintaining it. We're going to put 3 equipment sets in Europe, Kaiserslautern area, and we're getting ready to put 3 equipment sets in the Pacific, probably between the Philippines and Guam. And
Right.
we're working with USAPAC on that. But that's where once we get over there, it'll be, okay, how do we maintain this equipment in the harsh climate? We're working with our APS team, our AMC teammates. So those are just some things that we're looking to try to do differently in the Army Reserve. That's our tick.
Right.
We do have, last point on this is, it's called the National Guard Reserve Equipping Account.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a separate appropriation from Congress, comes to us and my National Guard teammates. And that allows us to actually go out and procure. And so we've been procuring, rounding out MTO equipment. The last brief I took from my team, I'm like, let's lift and shift. The Army should give us our MTO required tankers and trucks. We're going to invest in drone capability, counter UAS, some of this to be able to defend ourselves. You look what's happening in Ukraine and the lessons learned coming back. CSM and I were just out in the field. Chief was with us up there, and you look at like a fuel farm, you'd think of bags of fuel on the ground or water. How can we ever do that again? I mean, one drone will come in and I'm looking at this, I'm like, we may never put fuel on the ground again. How does this work? We're not able to defend ourselves.
Yeah. And
so I've got to make sure our young men and women are able to do that. So we're going out, we're nested with the Army's Task Force 401. They're kind of program manager for counter UAS. So we're nested with how the Army's looking at it, but we're going to procure some of our own kit in that area to help ourselves. I'm trained with, get it out to Operation Sentinel Justice in our training exercise so kids can see it and touch it.
That's good. So that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. How long will this modernization process take? And give us a little bit more about what your formations are doing to integrate those capabilities.
Well, I think as far as how long it's going to take, some of that will depend on resourcing. I think we can work the C2 piece. We're trying to drive on that, kind of reposture. I've got full support from the Secretary and the Chief on getting after that. We're kind of nesting right now. I was talking to General Pappas yesterday. So with the Army, with FORSCOM transitioning to Western Hemisphere Command, how does that affect the Army Reserve, our relationship with the USARC down there at Fort Bragg with this new Western Hemisphere Command? What are their roles going to be? So we're trying to let the dust settle there to see how that works. But I think, some of it, sir, will depend on resourcing, but time is of the essence, right? So I think we're starting to do the integration now. We're moving out on buying some of this kit now, and we're going to be training on it here in the spring.
Okay, good. To the floor. We'll take some questions from folks on the floor. Raise your hand, and Alex will walk over. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning.
I
Good
think
morning,
we have
sir.
your entire family here today.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, my daughter Kayla works at AUSA.
That's
so
right.
It's always great to come to these events. I've got a question for you. Haven't brought it up yet, but Detachment 201 and senior tech executives that you have in the Army Reserves, right? How far in the future do you see Det 201 going? How big do you see it getting as far as innovation, right? And how do you see it changing all compos, right? Because Det 201 is not going to just change Compo 3, but it's going to change Compo 1, Compo 2, and overall lethality, right? So how big do you see this really getting?
Yeah.
And give background. Yeah, what Detachment 201 is.
So Detachment 201 it's an initiative that the Army, right, Chief stood up, that has it has some tech executives from Palantir, Google, that came in. I think they wanted to join the Army. Army Reserve looked like the best fit, right? So they came in. I want to say as lieutenant colonels, kind of did the direct commission thing, and it was interesting. The chief was trying to figure out where to place folks. Army Reserve made the most sense. So I talked a little bit with the chief about it, and so we're kind of managing support for those individuals. The chief is missioning them, right? So Harter doesn't get to mission them, which I'm okay with. They're flying to battle assembly in their own jets. And so it's unique, right? Most of my kids aren't doing that. And so, so what we do, so I see that continuing to grow. I think Det 201, we already have that, right? You saw that with this young lady. We saw that. I mean, I've got folks out here that are cyber warriors and working for companies that are also in the Army Reserve. I have, he was going to sit on my panel at AUSA. The shutdown kind of affected his attendance, but a young lieutenant colonel named Jason Kim, who's also the director for science and analytics for Google, right? And so this is the amount of talent we have. So I think we will continue to get more of that. The Army Reserve has the 75th Innovation Command out of Houston, Texas. It is OPCON. Well, it's really assigned underneath T2 Command, right? But it's an Army Reserve formation, and that's where I have some incredible AI talent, a lot of high-tech folks. We continue to grow that, nest with the Army. They're working problem sets for me. They're working it now for General Hodney. And so that is that command will continue. That's our Det 201. I think Det 201 will continue to grow, but I could see that. I've lobbied the chief to say, why don't you just make them part of the 75th? That would be much easier for all of us to get after what you want to get after, Chief. So we'll keep working on it.
Let's pull the thread on that some more. What can we do to help tell those stories? I mean, you just talked about several folks. How can we help say, hey, if you join the Army Reserve, you have the ability to do all these different things. And these are examples of that.
I think, sir, with USAREC, we're trying to get that messaging out. USAREC has that information. Like I said, they recruit for us. They're putting more and more emphasis on the Army Reserve, which is great. We are meeting, I think our biggest recruitable population for this capability is really young men and women coming off active component that still want to serve. And so we have a pretty robust presence now at the transition points, Fort Bragg, Fort Hood, what have you, and say, hey, here are the opportunities. I think what was happening, our geographic mission command is going to help us out, because what was happening is, I want to join the Army Reserve and I'd like to go do this. But now you're trying, if it's my MP example, now you're trying to track down some MP unit where the kid wants to go move to Des Moines. And it's, that could, if I get to where my readiness divisions are managing all that, it'll be a lot easier for us to effect that handoff. But we continue to message on all the capability we bring. 19-year-olds sometimes don't care, right? I mean, they're just looking for those new young recruits. I have a 23-year-old son, and he doesn't care about anything that I think is important, but he will, right? But it's those kids kids that are transitioning off active duty that have a little bit more. Hey, listen, I really want to keep keep my health care.
Right.
I want to get after, we have a program called P3O, a private public partnership office that helps soldiers get civilian jobs where they live and is nested with where our units are. And so we have thousands of partners across industry with our P3O office.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that more. Next question from the field.
Thank you.
Yeah.
General Bob Castro, I'm glad you just mentioned public-private partnerships. I used to work in the Secretary of State's Office of Global Partnerships, which again, I think is a key component to helping that civilian transition. You mentioned Fort Campbell. I just want to shout out to you. 30 years ago, I worked for the congressman from that district and then another congressman who was on a probes and got a lot of the MILCON. So last year, I finally got a chance to go back and visit. For the last 3 years, we've been overseas at U.S. Embassy Jerusalem. A lot of lessons learned from that kinetic activity, but also how that society has sustained a long reserve call up. A lot of them are entrepreneurs that you're talking about. A lot of them are, the fabric of society. I'm curious, question one, how you integrate lessons learned from our allies and partners on how they integrate their reserve components, particularly when they're in high op tempo. Secondly, my wife was just confirmed to be U.S. ambassador to Bahrain, so we're just casually back here a little bit. I'm looking forward to my spouse of a commanding officer's role there to help not just the fleet and the Marines, but we also have Purple Force and a lot of allies there. What can you teach me about what I need to do to support your folks downrange and their families?
Okay, wow, that's a lot. I think appreciate your service and that of your bride. I tell you, just my last deployment, just to poke. Are there any Navy folks in here I'm about to offend? There's one. Perfect. But no, my last deployment is a 1-star out of Arifjan, but there was a naval. We had a bunch of we have some Army boats that were moving equipment around through the Gulf, right, Arabian Gulf, and we always had to have an escort, armed escort. Typically, it was the Navy, right, because of Iranian threat and so forth, and they were dispatched out of Bahrain. There was a couple times we were getting ready to move. Our boats could move, the big LSVs, hauling equipment, and we get a call say you can't move because the seas are too rough for the Navy.
What?
I'm like, it's the Navy. I mean, I called on there about, what do you mean? My boats are ready to go. The sea, well, it's shallow and all this. Now the Coast Guard, they go, we'll go. So there was no issue there. But so I think as far as reserve component partnerships, Israel's probably a one-off. I mean, they are all in that society. What we are getting a lot of, and it'd probably be good to get some lessons learned from them for us. We have not done that. We have a lot of other nations reaching out to us, especially in Europe, that are like, hey, how do you do reserve stuff? We were at AUSA, not last year, but the year before. And we had an international reserve kind of leader huddle while we were there. And we had reserve leaders from the UK, Estonia, Poland, the Philippines, Germany. And it was my British counterpart, Mark Lancaster, who's in the House of Lords in the UK, so traditional reserve, and a 2-star in the British Army Reserve, who said, and this was fascinating to me, he goes, hey, the war in Ukraine right now is a war being fought between 2 reserve armies. Because all the active duty formations are gone, right? And so we're getting a lot of, Poland, Germany, Spain reaching out to us. Hey, how do you do reserves? That's what we want to do. So I think I'm all in on more of that partnership. Probably need to sync up with our Israeli teammates and see how they're getting after it. Again, as far as, I guess, what was your other question? Getting the word out? How do we? Yeah.
In Bahrain. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, boy, we got a huge U.S. enterprise over there in the CENTCOM AOR, RCENT, and obviously the CENTCOM. They have all that capability. That'll be unique. That'll be an awesome tour. You're going to enjoy that over there. It sounds like you spend a lot of time over there. With us, one of our challenges, just to tie into Army Reserve families, our kids are dispersed, right? We're not near a Fort Bragg or a Fort Hood or a Fort Campbell. And so making sure that our young men and women know how to access TRICARE and how that works and all the programs that are available and how we reach out and touch base. I mean, dealing with suicides in our formation. How do you get them that help when they're so dispersed and make sure that, young men and women know who to talk to and how to reach out? You could have commanders that are 30 miles away and battalions that are 150 miles away. And so we're always working through how to maintain that nexus. And the internet's okay. Social media is okay. At the end of the day, it takes an NCO picking up the phone and talking to a young soldier.
Yeah.
And so that's what we drive on. The Army hasn't changed. 250 years, it hasn't changed. That's what makes a difference for us. And so we continue to drive on that.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Next question, please.
Sir, thank you very much for joining us today.
Sure.
Mark Holland with AUSA, and Lieutenant General Les Smith is my boss, so I need to ask you a quick question. But nonetheless, here we go. Physical fitness being a top priority for the Army, could you share with us a little bit about the opportunities that Army Reserve soldiers have to stay fit? Because as opposed to Fort Myer, there's not necessarily a gym for an Army Reserve soldier to be able to have access to. So how do Army Reserve soldiers maintain their fitness? What opportunities does the Army Reserve provide to them to help them maintain that level of fitness? Thank you.
Sure. No, I think so. It's easy to do push-ups, sit-ups, little cardio wherever you are, right? But this is a good example of the difference between us and my Compo One teammates, because you wouldn't even think about this. And so as we were rolling out the ACFT, now the AFT, right? But it had deadlift, it had the power ball throw, it had some weightlifting events that the Army wasn't doing before. It was push-ups, sit-ups, 2-mile run. And so, of course, if you're at Fort Bragg, you've got the Spark, you got all these, now we're hiring these H2F teams, you got all these folks. Whereas our young men, women are out there, maybe they go to a gym, maybe they don't. How do you work with them on deadlift form? How do you work with them to train through this? Yeah, there's all kinds of videos on how to do it. But one of the things that popped that kind of came to our attention was, so if I have a soldier that's training for the ACFT or AFT doing fitness, and they get injured doing that, who pays for that?
Oh.
Line to do, how does that work, right? Now, at the same time, where Harter is that, hey, we as American soldiers there's some personal agency, there's some responsibility to stay fit. When you raise your right hand and say, even if I'm going to be in the Army Reserve, I may not be in a duty status, but there's a responsibility to stay fit. Our channel, what we work through right now, I talk with my team, is the other 28 days. So we got them at battle assembly. We got them that one weekend a month. But how are we maintaining contact the other 28 days? And that works in fitness and all other things. We have H2F in the Army Reserve, the Health and Holistic Fitness Program. The Vice has been great. He's supporting us. We're modeling it with one of our readiness divisions. So we surge these teams of professionals out, and they're physical fit, they're athletic trainers. I've got dietitians. I've got physical therapists, and they surge out to formations that are doing battle assembly. We're doing train the trainer with our NCOs. And when I first went to the 81st, we had that team. I wasn't a believer. I'm like, you, sir, let's go to the gym, throw some steel around, try to eat right, do a little bit of cardio. Good to go. You're fit. I tell you what, that was a game changer for me, seeing how they incorporate sleep, diet, recovery, HIIT workouts, all that. So we are pushing that out. And we're getting out to, we'd like to have those teams at all of our readiness divisions and some of our bigger formations to get out and train soldiers on how to do that. Once a year, might go to twice a year, we hold a 2-week camp down at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where the 81st Readiness Division is, with this holistic fitness team. And they bring in young men and women that might not make height, weight, and formations, maybe can't pass the AFT, might have been injured. And it's a 2-week immersion on, hey, this is how you do this. This is how you eat right. Here's your diet. Here's sleep. This is what you need to take back to your unit. It is really hard with the dispersed formation because at the end of the day, it takes NCOs dialing in and saying, hey, what did you do? We do have apps. We were using this O2X app with part of our fitness trainers was contracted. And hey, this is how you can keep track of your workouts. But at the end of the day, it's that young soldier that's got to be motivated and get after that. I'm all in on our folks doing PT at battle assembly. There's some folks that say, hey, don't waste a battle assembly. You only got them, 1 weekend a month. You got to be going to the range. Hey, we can do all that. bringing folks together as a team and doing, I'm just, physical fitness as a team. It builds that camaraderie. It's critical. And then you can go through some of these techniques.
That's pretty cool. We should talk about some affinity programs that AUSA has, and maybe we can partner together.
That'd be great.
So I have my people get with you.
You got it, sir.
Your people.
You got it, sir.
Yeah. Last question over here.
Morning, sir. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Barbie. I'm AGR, currently assigned at Georgetown University, fellow with the Army War College.
Don't go native on me.
Yes, sir.
That means he must be pretty smart. He's at
I guess
Georgetown,
so.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So earlier, the question about the joint flavor that were exercise supporting. The answer you provided was very Compo 1, Compo 2, U.S. Army specific. Can you talk more to the jointness piece, and also with the pivot towards the Pacific? We're looking at a theater that's very water centric, and port operations is a very important part of moving forces forward into that theater. Can you speak to that, sir?
Sure, yeah. And again, I appreciate that. Again, seaport operations, port opening, all that capabilities in the Army Reserve, right? All of it. It's almost mind-boggling that Compo 1 doesn't have some of that capability. So balloon goes up, some of the first formations out the door are going to be Army Reserve seaport operations, with container handling and crane operators and all that heading towards the Indo-Pacific theater. I think so. Again, we're nested. I have out specifically Indo-PACOM, but I also have a similar formation in Europe. I have a mission support command in the Indo-PACOM area. It's the 9th Mission Support Command. It's a 1-star command that is nested with USRPAC. And they're actually the command that's kind of working through where we posture equipment over there and how we get it set up and maintained. Been talking a little bit with the Indo-PACOM J4 about how we can get more over there, actually get soldiers doing extended AT over there, training and partner up with the joint force, because we are the joint enabling capacity too. We have all that. And so, and as the chief has always said, General Pappas says, if something over there kicks off, people don't live on the water, right? They live on the land. And so there will be a huge need for U.S. Army forces, and the Army Reserve will be at the forefront of that. So we're trying to figure out how to posture some of that equipment forward, do more training forward. Again, the balance, I think, is, and this is something the Army is going to have to wrestle with, maybe rebalance of the compos, is when you have that much capacity in the Army Reserve, again, we're afforded 39 days a year, right? We're afforded 39 days a year. And that's the messaging, I guess, that I would ask, sir, is just that, your Army Reserve, we're essential, right? We got to be plugged into all these training exercises, but understand how we operate. 39 days a year, civilian jobs are paying mortgages and rent and car payments. And it's not as easy saying, hey, we need more multi-compo. Why don't your kids do 90 days a year, right? Well, some can, a lot can't. Right. And so it's that just, hey, this is why you have the reserve. I think all the CENTCOM deployments where you had a year to get ready, and it was kind of, we knew what we were getting into, and that created this sense of dependency, I think, on Compo 3 that is going to be a rude awakening. And so that's should something tip off big. You heard Sergeant Major of the Army say it, right? He's seen a lot of combat, more than most. He's never seen war. And that will be a game changer for us. So that's what we just continue to message. Hey, we're essential. We're going to get after it. We're going to focus on being combat ready. We're doing what keeps us lethal. But I think as a total Army, we got to look at how we're postured to get after this next threat.
That's good. Thanks so much, General Harter. Let's give him a round of applause.
All right.
Now, before you go, I want to inform you of a few upcoming events. Tomorrow, 19 November, we're hosting a new report webinar on soldiers and the schoolhouse, a military history of junior ROTC by Arthur T. Combo. On 2 December, we're also hosting another new report discussing the fate of Day, the War for America, Fort Ticonderoga to Charleston, 1777 to 1780. But then on 4 December, some of the things that you were talking about today, we'll be hosting a hot topic called Foundations of Holistic Health and Fitness. We're expecting to see you there.
I'll be there.
Ready. Finally, we're looking forward to our return to Huntsville, Alabama for the 2026 Global Force Symposium and Exposition from March 24 to 26. For more information about these events or to register, please visit our website at ausa.org. Finally, we want to thank all those who supported us today with your membership. Your membership matters. You help us support the Army and the Army Reserve.
Ooh.
Thank you again for attending and have a great Army Day. Hooah.
All right. Hey, appreciate you, sir.